Honestly, self-regarding nonsense.
10 points if anybody can guess who we're cheering and applauding for. Can anyone guess?
I go for it. I go. Yes, the one at the bottom. He done it.
This one.
The one holding up the world. He's back. He's back. He's bad.
You guys have been holding up pretty well without me, actually.
It certainly wasn't. It certainly wasn't for that comment from Hugh about me and my G-string.
No.
I think he means on your guitar, mate. What are you talking
about? Oh, good to see you. Good to see you, bro. Good to see the Rock Professor here too. 2 weeks without Brad. 2 weeks without the backdoor man.
2 weeks without the backdoor man.
I was backdooring.
Were you?
Good to see you, bro. We've got Jonathan Nicholas in the chat. Good to see you, bro. Jonathan Nicholas and I did a show last night, folks.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Cool show. Yeah. Lots of in-depth discussion about Robert Johnson. Fantastic.
Yeah. It was great. I jumped in for the football. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we look forward to getting Jonathan on for part 2, and we'll probably, that famous album that inspired. Hold on, guys. This one here,
King of the Delta Blues.
All the British guys. We might rank that, and we'll get Jonathan on as a guest.
Beautiful.
Yes. Ooh.
Keith Campbell's here as well. Holy cow! Rock Professor, do you want to do a quick shout out, and then we'll do our intro, because we're going to get too excited otherwise.
I know. Johnny Heartbreaker, morning Johnny. Jimmy Ray Hawkins, Phil Byers, channel member, morning Phil. Holly Lewis, morning Holly. Good news, Holly. We've Andrew's added you to the community page of our channel, so you're on there. Okay, hope that's cool. Hugh Caldwell, morning Hugh. Ellen, of course. Good morning, Ellen. Hope you're well. Gretch Zeppelin. Good morning, Gretch. Welcome to the show. We've also got Jonathan Nicholas. Good morning, Jonathan. Great show yesterday. Good, fantastic to have you on the channel. And Keith Campbell, a returner. Long time no see, Keith. I hope you're well, mate. I think you've moved recently, haven't you? Moved across the world. I think so. I hope that went well. And Jazz Thunder 50, Jim as well. I think he was there. So good morning to you, Jim. Anyway, it doesn't matter if you
want. Morning, everyone.
Say good morning to you anyway.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Rock Professor. So we've got a couple of shout outs, folks, before we go and talk about this great, fantastic, awesome album. Brad will tell you why we're doing this album if you guys aren't aware. Something happened in the course of the past week, so this is our kind of way of marking that. But to all the dads out there in this part of the world, Australia and New Zealand, to the dads living and the dads that have passed, happy Father's Day. And let's hope that you guys have spoilt your dads. If you haven't messaged your dads or rung your dads or done something for your dads, it's not too late to do it.
Yeah, happy Father's
Day. I got on my Ouija board to contact him.
Happy Father's Day, everyone, to my dad, and I am a dad as well, so I got this today from my son.
Oh, wow.
Of course.
He's a greaser.
You know what's funny about this, guys? He bought this at a Father's Day stall at his school, but guess who gave him the money to buy it?
Yeah.
Of course.
That's where the saying "it's the thought that counts" comes from, Simon and Brad.
That's right.
Yes. When it was my birthday in July, Brad, the family insisted we all go out for dinner. So I go out for dinner for my birthday, right? So it's my family and 2 other people. So, but don't worry, I still paid. Okay, just in case you were worried that somebody else was taking me out for dinner, I still paid for it.
As long as you're paying, they're coming.
Yeah.
Quite right. Yeah,
that's the way.
That's how it should be.
We've got a couple of other shout outs too, folks, that we want to do. Obviously, Brad, we haven't had you here for a couple of weeks, bro. So you've got the first round of shout outs, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Stevie Ray Vaughan passed away. Was it last weekend, Andrew and Simon? I think it was. That's one of the things that I want to bring up is, big pillar of blues rock and one of the greatest blues guitarists of our lifetime that I'm aware of, Stevie Ray Vaughan. So a very sad day to lose the masterful Stevie Ray Vaughan. But as Andrew has really selected this album for the rankings for this reason, Andrew, is that why you did it? You picked this
bro.
Celebrate the life of Stevie Ray. So
it's because I mentioned it.
Yes. Yes. Before I go too far, I just wanted to say it was wonderful to watch the shows with Jim on, and Jim did such a great job.
Fantastic job, Jim.
You're amazing, mate. So thank you so much for that. And it was great to rewatch the shows. I watched them. I didn't just bypass them. I just wasn't available to join you guys. So, but I'd like to give a shout out to an online friend and someone whom has been very generous to me with his time and his well wishes during my health scares, and continually contacted me during that period of time. I don't know, this guitar here, Andrew, that I'm pointing at, the pickups in this guitar, I don't know. Anyway, the pickups in this guitar are from JW Restorations, and Joel Wilkins. He's gone in for his 4th spinal surgery in many months, and our best wishes to Joel in recovery. And I would like to support Joel as much as I can, and if anyone can spare, a few dollars here and there, there's a GoFundMe link that Andrew's going to share, or I might share it in the chat. If you've got a few spare dollars, please go and donate to Joel Wilkins. He's a wonderful gentleman, and all the best, Joel. I really hope that a speedy recovery, and our prayers are with you, my friend.
Fantastic. We'll do that, bro.
Cool.
We'll attach that to the description, and if you guys feel inclined to go and support him financially, please do.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you want to tell us, before the Rock Professor does his shout out, what the heck you've been doing over the last couple of weeks, or is that still classified information?
No.
Should be.
Well, a fortnight ago, I had 3 gigs on in the weekend, so it was a pretty intense amount of driving and traveling, and just really made it difficult to get on to the Sunday show, just to actually get on here for Sunday afternoon here in Australia. So by the time I got home on Sunday, you guys would have well and truly been asleep. So both ends of the world, I reckon. So yeah, that was not feasible for me to do. But I had 3 great shows. We played in Albury at the SSNA Club. I've played there many times before, which was a great show. That's a 4-hour drive from where I live. And then I had to drive back the next day to do a show in Melbourne City at a place called Bird's Basement. And I've never played there before. It was it's like a small jazz club, seats probably about 160 to 180. And we filled the place, and very small stage, very, very awkward sort of stage setup for a 7-piece band, but we made it work. And it was a really fun show, and just great to see the people, sitting there. They're sitting at tables directly in front of the, 3 tables were branching off the stage, and they're sitting there.
Wow.
Felt like we were performing in their dinner plates, but
Yeah.
it was a great show. And by the end of the second set, the crowd were really into it, and that was fantastic. And then the weekend just gone was my lovely woman's birthday. So I had a birthday weekend planned for her on the Sunday. It was her birthday. So I couldn't really, I had to pull the pin on joining you gentlemen. I had to do the right thing. I couldn't imagine, we've got dinner planned, my love, but hang on, I've got to go and do a 2-hour show. I don't think that would have If anyone's aware of the time slot here in Australia, like we start at 4:30 Australia time, finish about 6:30, and we're already on our way to dinner at that point in time, so it wouldn't have been feasible. I was staying in the city. I stayed in Melbourne City Saturday night and Sunday night, so I came back to work on Monday morning from where we were staying. So
no problem.
It was a lovely weekend, and that's where I've been. Nothing too serious, or I wish it was a gig announcement, or I've just been signed or something like that, but no, just
happy birthday, Jackie. Happy birthday from the 5150 show.
Yeah, happy birthday, Jackie, my love.
Fantastic. Yeah. And talking of time slots, I wish to register an official complaint. When he has Jonathan Nicholas on, just across the room with me, they start at 9 a.m. When I come on, it's like, get up in the middle of the night and get on with it, you scurvy wretch.
He's got 3 toddlers and a 7-week-old baby. So what's your excuse?
I've got 2 teenagers and a 25. I don't have an excuse. I'm just complaining. Oh dear.
No, and thank you, Jonathan. If you're here, it was a great show. And again, I'll put some links to that show if you guys are interested in watching that. Before the Rock Professor does a shout out, the Van Halen show that we did, folks, a couple of weeks ago with Johnny and Jim and Les Paul, and we had the special guest Andrew Scambatti on, and he came and told us some of the inner workings behind the scenes with Kiss and Van Halen, and this tier level of Van Halen and Kiss fans, which blew us all away. 6K views. So thanks everybody for watching and pushing that video.
Well done.
And all the new people who subscribed as well. We've had lots of new subscriptions. Fantastic.
How many? I sent you the message. 100 and
nearly 193 in the last month. So that's fantastic.
193 subscribers and 28 days on the channel. Yeah. Holy cow. We might get 10K by the end of the year, the way that's going.
Well, that's great.
That would be cool. That would be cool. So it's fantastic. Thanks to everybody who subscribed. It's fantastic. And we are humbled and pleased that people think we're worthwhile. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Rock Professor, you got one more shout out, I think, and then we're going to start the show.
One more shout out, just marking the passing of Jimmy Buffett, the American songwriter who died this week. I know quite a lot of people have been commenting on my Facebook feed. John Conklin was having a margarita in honor of his most famous hit, Margaritaville. So we mark the passing of Jimmy Buffett.
No.
Awesome. Hey, Julianne, thanks for joining us. Good to see you in the chat. All right, gentlemen.
Right.
So the album that we're going to be talking about is an album called In Step, recorded early 1989. And I was just thinking about this, guys. This album and 24 Nights were the albums that I was listening to, Brad and Simon, for a long time, back in 89 and 1990. That Journeyman album especially came out the same decade, or the same time, towards the end of the year. According to Mr. Wikipedia, recorded in the early part of 89 and released, Simon, on June the 6th, 1989. So I don't know about you guys, when this album dropped here in New Zealand, Stevie Ray Vaughan already had pretty much a big following amongst ordinary fans. He was a staple on a lot of the rock stations as well, you know. So I think that had a big influence, Brad and Simon, on his popularity. But Crossfire, especially that single when that came out, that was a big one for a lot of fans. This album's known for his sober album, Brad and Simon. It was the album that he recorded straight. And it was the album that he was a little bit fearful about, wasn't he, Brad and Simon? You know, because he was used to playing under the influence of you know, things, and you know, just being able to record and play. He was a little bit hesitant how that was going to come across, because he'd been playing for years and years, you know, on the edge. And this album, in the context of his other albums, just sounded remarkable. And it's the album that could be, Brad, What If? It's the What If album, isn't it? You know, what was he going to do, or what could he have done with this album? Now, according to Mr. Wikipedia, this was the last album that he did with Double Trouble, but he recorded an album with his brother in 1990, Family Style, which is a great album, and at some stage we'll probably rank that too. But this is the last of the studio albums with Double Trouble. Fantastic album, in my opinion. It's a masterpiece. I remember buying it when it first came out, Brad and Simon, and it had me and a lot of my friends under its spell. Brad, you want to tell us your memories of discovering this album, and then we'll get the Rock Professor to share us his.
Look, for me, In Step, my first introduction to Stevie Ray would have been more listening to Couldn't Stand the Weather. That was probably my first album that I ever heard of Stevie Ray, and it blew my head off. And then obviously I went through a stage in the early 90s buying CDs, and I just went and bought everything I could get my hands on of Stevie Ray. And I'd heard there was a Greatest Hits Stevie Ray album that came out, and I'd heard some of the tracks off this album, of course. And I put this on, and literally, I mean, I heard Houses Are Rockin', and then the next song and the next song after that just continually blew me away. I had to listen to the album 2 or 3 times to really take it all in, Andrew and Simon, because there's a lot to take in. The band, the singing, the lyrical content, some of the songs, the playing. I think this is the most focused album I've ever heard of Stevie Ray Vaughan. I know that Stevie Ray, when he did Texas Flood, was very focused and determined with that record, but this one was slightly different. There was a more mature edge to this record, and it's a great sounding album. It's phenomenal. And without sort of delving too much into the songs and elaborating like we will when we sort of do the rankings, I think this is a very important album for Stevie Ray Vaughan to make. And the big what if question that you mentioned, Andrew, before, it still resonates with me today. I think that every time I listen to this album, I'm like, wow, if this was his first sober record, let's, imagine what he could have achieved moving forward. I remember hearing a lot of the blues greats that Stevie looked up to, and I'm glad, Andrew, you shared that Eric Clapton clip from the Stevie Ray Vaughan tribute gig, where he talks about Stevie Ray. There's a lot of the players that Stevie Ray looked up to, saying that he was the greatest blues electric guitar player of all time. I firmly believe this album, moving forward, would have made the next record even more powerful. He would have been even more focused. I think this is one of Stevie Ray's most important albums, and God bless him. Unfortunately, he couldn't follow it up. It's a very important album for Stevie Ray. Simon.
Cool. Thank you, bro. Good points. Simon, Rock Professor.
Yeah, well, I have to say that Stevie Ray Vaughan in the 90s really passed me by. Was clearly in another place completely. I don't think that, in sort of my world, blues wasn't sort of like very much to the forefront. There weren't many new British blues bands. I don't think that. I don't know whether he came here much. I don't know if he came here at all. I've not looked, but I don't remember him particularly coming to the UK very much. And clearly by that time radio had kind of gone into pop world stuff, and he didn't get played on the radio really at all. So my only real connection to this is that for a long time we used to play Houses Are Rocking in my old band, the Steelers. For a long time we played that, so that's really my connection with it. And so I came to this pretty fresh, really, about not really having heard it before, which is great.
Awesome.
New stuff is always thrilling to listen to.
We look forward to hearing what the Rock Professor has to say. We've got some Stevie Ray Vaughan nuts in the chat. We've got Digital Guitars, Andy here, and Hugh's in here as well. So we'll be watching the Rock Professor's scores, all of us intently. And anybody else who's a Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, feel free to apply online bullying. You're more than welcome to use that. Should you require? Should it be required?
Thank you so much. Yes. Oh, just put me on the wall and throw things at me. Yes. Thanks.
Just joking. As ever, folks, let us know what you think of this album as well, where this album was situated with you and in your life. Back in '89, were you listening to it like I was? Or did you discover it slowly and digest it slowly like Brad? Or was it your first exposure to it? Share us your comments. I'm going to leave plenty of room for my colleagues to talk about this album and these tracks, because one track could be a 2-hour show, especially the last track. We could do 3 hours on the last track, but we won't. So we're gonna make sure that we're going to be focused. So I'm going to kick it off. Brad's going to come in second, and the Rock Professor's going to offer us his thoughts and scores. Houses Are Rocking is the first track. Boogie Woogie, keys or piano, isn't it, guys? It's just fantastic. In my ear, when I listen to this, and I've been listening to it intently over the last week, it's a classic Stevie Ray Vaughan vocal performance, Brad and Simon. And when I mean classic, he's just singing in the pocket. And we'll talk about his vocals on other tracks as opposed to the way that Stevie is singing on this. So that's why I've identified this opening track as a classic track, vocal performance. Bit of a subdued, interesting solo from Stevie on this track. And it's a short rocker, only 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. And at the time, for years, when I was listening to it, it kind of made sense that you would start this and then you'd get into the next song. But I'm just thinking, Brad and Simon, because we've been doing this for a couple of years now, I'm thinking, what an interesting track to open up this album with. It's so unlike Stevie that's probably the only reason why. Still a great track, Brad and Simon. I've given it 9 out of 10, but I'm really, really keen to hear what you guys have to say about this opening track. Never a skip.
Well,
Brad.
House is a rockin'. Listen, the first time I ever heard this song, the house was a rockin'. I can tell you, I love this track, and I love how it opens up with that menacing, fiery guitar riff. If anyone's ever tried to play this riff correctly, it's not that easy to play, and Stevie does it with ease, like the way he does it, because it's not just a blues shuffle, as Simon might be able to tell you, because he used to play it, Simon, yeah. So
yes, but not correctly.
Okay, it's not a straight shuffle. It's a moving chordal shape. It's quite unique because it is like a blues shuffle, but it actually moves around, and it's very difficult to play. I love that the way it's supported by the backbeat on the drums. I think we've just lost Andrew by the looks of it. We've got that lively sort of
Me too.
Yeah.
Hooray, what should we do? The boss is gone.
Well, the boss is away, the mice will play, they say. I think we should just we can start swearing all the time, we can start complaining, do what the hell we like. So the track opens obviously with that fiery sort of guitar riff, and the backbeat of the drums with the lively piano immediately establishes like a party atmosphere. And I think one thing about Stevie was he loved to have fun and joy of music, and he's really emphasizing the joy of music and having a good time. Steve's guitar work here is, we can only characterize it by like fiery, rapid fire, a sense of spontaneity. I think it's making it a perfect introduction to the album because of their energetic vibe. Stevie's vocal is very, very strong here. The piano solo is a highlight. It has a real party vibe. The guitar solo is fiery. It's blistering hot. It's dripping Texas blues. It's nothing, too out of the stratosphere solo, but it fits the song perfectly. I gave it a 10 out of 10, guys. I think it's a fantastic song. Simon. Simon.
You coming back? Oh.
Sorry about that.
Wheels of doom.
My computer just died. Sorry about that. I missed what you had to say, bro. I'll have to go back and watch it. Unless you want to. No. I'll go back and watch it. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, I gave it a 10 though,
right,
Andrew.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. What did you give it, Andrew? Did you give it a score? You gave it
9.
You did give it a score.
9.
Well, yes, I don't have much to add to what you just said. I mean, I think you're absolutely right, Brad. It is, that fiery, pacey rock and roll beginning to the album, isn't it? Great opener, fantastic energy. Interestingly, quite piano driven as well. There's a lot of piano in it, as much as there is guitar in it. It's a great riff to start it, and and also I'll make mention, I'm sure we'll do it lots more, is great bass and drums in it as well. They really hold down and keep it swinging, which is the thing to do. And a great piano solo from the great Reese Winans, of course, who's playing with Joe Bonamassa these days. Yeah, doing all of that. So and a great sort of fiery guitar solo. I think I'll just say that the title is a play on a popular bumper sticker in the 1970s, which said, "If this van's a rocking, don't bother knocking." And, so if we'll leave it at that. And as I say, because we used to play it in the band, 10 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. Great.
Fantastic. Well, everybody's on the money here. We've got some 10s and we've got some 9s. So fantastic scores, folks. Interesting opener. It's an interesting opener. I hope I don't crash. I'm seeing something that's not. Yeah. Okay. If I crash, you guys carry on. The second track is Crossfire. Now, I think this was the single. I'm pretty sure this was the single. It's a great video. Go and check it out. But again, Brad and Simon, the keys take a dominant place here on this track. But Stevie Ray Vaughan is on fire with his guitar on this track. There's no subdued playing like he was doing on A House Is a Rocking. And his vocals on this track, Brad, sting. You know, and it's like, whoa. It's the contrast between his vocals on the first track and this one. It's just remarkable. I love it. I think it's fantastic. The same thing too with his guitars. His guitar on this has got some real crunch going on there, Brad. And I love the way that he hits that bottom E string. I love that, you know. You can hear that as he gets into some of the you know, the guitar embellishments that he does. Incredible solo on this track. It's just a fantastic number. My first Brad score, ladies and gentlemen, of this album. Remarkable. Brad.
Look, it's hard to follow you at the moment, Andrew, because you're sort of copying a lot of my notes, I think, there. But look, Crossfire, for me, every time I hear Crossfire, I think of how good that Tommy Shannon, Chris Layton, and Reese Wines were as a band, especially Tommy Shannon and Chris Layton. That they played together for a long time at this point. They know Stevie Ray backwards. They know exactly what he's capable of doing. Now, I know that they were main contributors to this song, from my understanding of the way that the things I've read, that they actually wrote this song with, I can't think of who it was now. Escapes me.
Bill Carter and
Ruth Ellison,
Ellsworth.
Bramhall, Reese, and Bill Carter.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it was. So Stevie Ray, for me, this is how I see it. Like, he's honoring this song. He's playing. He's playing like a. Put it this way, the song's got that driving rhythm with the bass and the drums. The way it kicks in, it's phenomenal. The band is so good, and you know, it touches on the themes of the song. Touches love, and like it's like a battlefield, I guess. Stevie's guitar solos are electrifying, reflecting the intensity of the emotional struggles described in the song. He's really portraying that and pushing that through in his playing. The intro predominantly is, like I said, the drums and keyboards, and it allows Stevie Ray to vamp over the top. Vocally in this song, again, very strong, as Andrew said. He's right on top of this. His vocals actually on this record are phenomenal. I think he's always been a great vocalist, but you know, unlike the things we've been saying about Eric Clapton, I think he's really honed his craft as a vocalist on this record. Maybe the sobriety has certainly helped with that. There's some wonderful guitar licks throughout the song. The solo, for example, it's stinging. I mean, this is Stevie, textbook Stevie with Albert King. There's cross-fusioning. He's playing with Albert King's playing. This is what you're hearing on this song in the solo. It's phenomenal. I gave the song 10 out of 10 again. It's hard to rank these songs any less than 10, really. They're all such great blues songs. And if you're a Stevie Ray Vaughan nut like we are here, it's hard to falter anything Stevie Ray does. So 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip, Simon.
Hey,
so
Ryan.
It's up to me to bring an element of realism to this, is it?
Ooh. Here we go.
Oh, that's
Here we go.
Well, yes, I think that first thing I'd say is the drums at the beginning, that snare roll like a machine gun burst, beautifully recorded, as Andrew said earlier, fantastically recorded, great drum sound. And that guitar riff at the beginning, I can't get out of my head. I don't think it is particularly, it reminds me of Peter Gunn. The Tubes, what do you want from life? When I heard that, I was transported back to the Tubes. What do you want from life? And they're doing Peter Gunn. And it's not the same riff, but it just has the same kind of slightly menacing, spooky atmosphere to it. In fact, I went back and listened to the Tubes. What do you want from live? Which I can heartily recommend. It's a great record. I saw them live as well. All those people dressed up as cigarettes and things. But so that's fantastic. As I say, that great snare sound, very kind of modern, real sort of smack to it that drives it along. The guitar playing with the organ, and as Andrew said, that Reese Winer's of the organ is, and interestingly, on his 2019 album, his last album, Reese Winer's, he recorded a version of this as a tribute to, so you can see his deal. And we're very much back in classic Stevie Ray Vaughan territory with a call and response to the vocals and the guitar. Sings, plays. That's in that very kind of fiery, energetic manner that he has. And there's also, I don't know whether it's real horns or whether it's keyboards doing horns, but there's some horns parts, aren't there? I couldn't see whether they're real horns, are they? Well, they sounded good, whatever they were. And that's, again, the new element, isn't it? A different kind of a different texture. You've got the first track is the piano, this is organ, and then horns joining in with the punctuation and that passionate, fiery end solo. Good morning, Ryan Hall. And so 10 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. Absolutely. Two great opening tracks. You start to see that broadening out of what this album might be. Really good.
Thank you very much, guys and everybody. As usual, good to see you, Ryan. Second shout out. Fantastic. Thanks for jumping on board. The third track, folks, is a song written by Stevie and Doyle, and it's another deep, meaningful song about the struggles that clearly the band had been going through. I was going to say Stevie, but we've got to remember that Tommy and Chris had issues as well, didn't they, with narcotics and drinking as well. So another deep meaning song. Go and check it out, folks. The lyrics, if you haven't paid much attention to it, it's easy to get caught up into the music. I love Chris Layton's drumming on this. It's fantastic. It's a standout track for him. That guitar solo tone, Brad, is just fantastic. It's a continuation of the same tone in my ear from the previous track. So I reckon they kind of recorded these kind of songs quite close together to my ear. But I really love the growl that Stevie gets in his voice. And I mentioned that on the first track when I was talking about the classic Stevie Ray Vaughan voice. You compare this vocal track, Brad and Simon, to the first track, it's just a remarkable difference in tonality that he's trying to achieve, or that he does remarkably. Brad score. I'm passing it on to Brad. Brad.
Wow. Look, Tightrope is one of the sort of early sort of things I heard of Stevie Ray Vaughan and growing up, and it became one of my sort of go-to songs whenever I wanted to hear Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's got that slower sort of bluesy funk feel. It's got a soulful feel to it as well. The band is just phenomenal on this track. They sound like a machine. They're just like they're not unstoppable. The lyrics describe the struggles that they were all going through, comparing it to walking a tightrope, which is, I think the lyrics are brilliant. His guitar solos on this are filled with lots of emotion. The song, it's about simplicity and sincerity, and it makes it a standout track for me. his vocals, as Andrew said, I'm not going to repeat what Andrew said, but that grit in his voice, and he's just a phenomenal singer. And what a wonderful guitar solo. I love the space between the phrasing. The first part of the solo, and then he leaves it, and you're anticipating the next bit to come in. The way he sort of leaves that spacing, I'm hearing a lot of Eric Clapton in that early part of the solo, and then I'm hearing a lot of Hendrix. I'm hearing a lot of Albert King, and many of his heroes sort of amalgamated into one style. And the outro solo, man, that's one of my favorite Stevie Ray Vaughan solos of all time. I just love the way he just sort of keeps bending. Kind of wish that solo wouldn't fade out and we could hear how the song really ended. Look, again, I could go on for ages about this song. I love the feel. I love the chords. I love the way Stevie plays on guitar, that rhythm. That's not an easy rhythm to play for any guitarist. That, to play that rhythm and get that sort of ding, 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 the thing, and he's singing over the top. I've seen many versions of Stevie playing this live on YouTube, and some bootlegs I've got. But this recording is something else. It's phenomenal. I gave it 100 out of 10. It's never a skip, and one of my all-time favorite Stevie Ray songs. Simon,
fantastic. Good on you.
Yeah, it's a bracing triumvirate of opening songs, isn't it? To start with, it's got that slightly more funky beat, as you said, Brad, and this time it's got an organ and a piano on it in different parts. But very much that swing and the bass very much to the fore. Fantastic bass playing, and I think it's the drums and the bass hold these things down, and so you've got to have an anchor, haven't you, if you're gonna be as virtuosic as Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's not even a word. Then you've got to have a basis on which to launch yourself, and I think they provide a fantastic bass and brilliantly illustrated on this track. I think there's a little dropout, and I think, as you say, that second solo at the end, where there's the piano and organ, and the guitar playing together, is amazing. So I gave it a 10 out of 10 as well, and never a skip.
Well done, Rock Professor.
Yeah, I've been paying attention. I've listened. I've done my own work, Guffy, but no, I'm not familiar with it. I am familiar with it now.
No, fantastic. And again, everybody in the chat seems to be having a lot of fun too, giving their comments and thoughts on these tracks too. So continue, keep doing that, folks. Now the next track's really, really interesting, because "Let Me Love You Baby" is a Willie Dixon song. And what's really interesting about this track is that it's a classic Texas blues track in my ear, Brad. But it shouldn't be. It should be a classic Chicago blues track. But it's not. This is again, this is that thing about tone and being in your fingers and who you are as a guitar player coming through. No one can say that Stevie Ray Vaughan is a Chicago blues player. He's not. He's he's Texas blues. So is there any surprise that he's turned this song into a Texas blues song? No. I just think the opening is just fantastic in that sense. It just gives everything that Texas flavor. Tommy on bass just knocks it out of the park, and there's another couple of other tracks coming up where he's just phenomenal as a bass player. But this is where I'm hearing him, Brad, going, holy cow. And what's interesting too is the strat tone. The strat tone on this song is unlike the previous. It's a little bit more of a classic strat tone. Again, remarkable achievement. Love the track. Brad, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. I've given this a 9 out of 10, bro. It's never a skip. Lightning Strikes, good to see you, brother. I got your email.
Yes, well, Let Me Love You Baby. This Like you said, Andrew, this blues standard gets the Stevie Ray Vaughan treatment, the Texas blues to it, and my goodness, it is it's amazing the way they've done this. It's a great opportunity for Stevie to show off his guitar prowess on that intro. The way he plays is phenomenal. His gritty vocals, obviously the lyrical content of the song. He puts that affection and feel and illustrates it through his guitar playing. It's just got such a unique style, Stevie. Interestingly, Andrew, you brought up Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar tone, and I mentioned the same sort of thing. And I actually put here, I think Stevie's just playing guitar into an amp, no effects, dry guitar sounds incredible. The band sound incredible, but that's he's soloing. He's got no tube screamer on. It's just a testament to his ability to just hone in on what the song needs. And he's obviously just started playing and gone, this song doesn't need anything but guitar. That's it, guitar and amp. Just turn it up and I'm playing. That's all,
And that's the closest he's going to get to Chicago blues. Because that's all those Chicago blues guys did, didn't they? They just plugged into the amp. So that's the closest he's going to get.
Yeah. So, it's his guitar sounds dry and it sounds incredible. It's phenomenal. Anyway, I love it. The band sounds fantastic. Like you said, Tommy on the bass is something else. He's phenomenal. The band. This song I gave 9 out of 10. It's never a skip. I could go on for ages. It's a blistering song. 9 out of 10.
Well, that's my score too, bro. Simon. Fantastic.
Simon.
Well, starting with the machine gun snare, right at the beginning, it's it's always a call to arms. That sort of drum at the beginning, that roll with the guitar. Again, it has piano on it. And as you said, that driving bass line, walking bass line that drives it along, but keeps it swinging. It's a delicate, to quote, it's a delicate tightrope. Sorry, about you go too fast and then it's just rock, and you've got to have some roll in this because it's the blues, and that Chicago blues has to have the swing in it to make it a thing. More call and response with the vocals and the guitar, doing what he does for all those blistering guitar licks that he plays. And then later on, you've got the organ that comes in the background. I noticed again, these things are about textures, aren't they? Pianos, organ stuff, they're about textures. They add things to the overall feel of the song. I gave this 8.5 out of 10, but never a skip. Great track.
Fantastic. Rock Professor, we're on the money. Half a point from us, and
I'm not getting banned for half a point.
We've got Lightning Strikes in the chat, so good to see you, brother. Yeah. Lightning Strikes is going to probably join us as a guest host end of September, guys.
Cool.
For a ranking, so I'll keep you guys in touch with how we're going to organise that. Okay, so the next track, guys, is a Buddy Guy track. What does Stevie say, Brad? Everybody likes a bit of Buddy Guy.
Everybody likes a bit of Buddy Guy.
It's famous. I'm going to leave this for my colleagues, my co-hosts, to talk a little bit about too, because this song is just phenomenal. That intro to this song, that guitar tone on this song, that playing on this song, and the vocal performance on the song, it's just remarkable. It's a remarkable track. It's not often I get lost for words, guys, but this is just a fantastic, phenomenal track. I love Chris's snare snaps on this track. It's one of my favourite songs. It's just a powerful performance. I've given this a super Brad score. I want to hear what my co-hosts have to say about this and see if I need to conclude anything, because I don't want to, turn this show into a 5-hour show. But if you haven't check this out. If you're watching on a replay, folks, please go and check this track out. It's phenomenal. Brad.
Thanks, Andrew. Leave My Girl Alone. Look, Stevie's vocals on this song are particularly expressive, and he's like taking the song on board like it's his own, and he's conveying a sense of urgency and protectiveness with the lyrics. The guitar licks between the vocal lines are just something like, I don't know, it's like listening to Albert King playing along with Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's just, that's what I'm hearing. There's Albert King there. There's Buddy Guy there. The guitar solos are fiery. It's just intense. He's portraying emotion. It's like he's taken the song on board and he's pushing everything out into that guitar. And can I also add, the guitar solo is so unique and Stevie Ray Vaughan at his best. I mean, there's string bending, there's the phrasing, the way he leaves the space between the notes. Let's not forget he's string bending with 13 gauge strings and above. And the way he's bending those notes, he's doing like 2 and more note semitones or two whole tones or more up. Now, this guy had phenomenal strength in his hands. If anyone's played with 13s on a Stratocaster, they'll know what I'm talking about. That's hard work. You know, all I can say about this song is it's an incredible performance. His vocal is outstanding. The band are really tight, and it sounds incredible. I've given it 100 out of 10. Some of Stevie's most emotive guitar playing and singing. 100 out of 10. Simon.
Yeah, it's pretty true to the original. Actually, I had to listen to the original stuff, and it's not so far away, which is fantastic. It's a slow blues in 6/8 time, classic. You know, by the 5th track, you know, you're changing the timing. So they get to the 5th track, you know, you change the stars, so slow it down, and you've got this kind of 6/8 thing. So you get that swing to it. That's in that waltz time, which is fantastic. Great relaxed bass playing as well. I'll put in a chip in for bass playing and organ on this, which I think is really cool. One thing that did strike me when I listened to it, that one thing that sends, you can tell I wasn't recording in the last 20 years, because the opening couplet of the second verse is, "You call my house just yesterday, I picked up the extension." I don't know when the last time you picked up an extension in your house. It was in the last 10 minutes. Very nice. That made me smile as a thing. As you said, Brad, the solo, I think, it reminded me that the quote that Andrew put up, that video of Eric Clapton talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan, saying that, you know, that he just, you know, he was amazed. It just flowed out of him, and he never seemed to get lost. He never seemed to have, you know, sometimes Eric says, you know, even I stop and just have a regroup. But he said he never seemed to, that just flowed out of him, and he just played and played and played. And I think you could definitely hear that on this. The solo on this is amazing. So it's 10 out of 10 for me, and never a skip either. It's a fantastic.
Yeah, look, I don't want to get into the habit of doing a conclusion, folks, but I just want to back up with what my co-hosts are saying here too. You know, it's just a phenomenal performance. I just wanted them to have something to say as well, you know, because we can easily, you know, just say everything. But I agree with Brad, you know, it's an emotional performance. And I'm not surprised that Hugh is making comments like this. He cried when he first heard this, because I can tell you it had a huge effect on me and my friends when we were listening to this. The live performances are phenomenal. It's a classic example of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble's work together. It's just a phenomenal performance. And again, I just want to say, go back and check it out, folks, on replay if you haven't heard it. It's phenomenal. And it's no surprise that he picked a Buddy Guy song, Brad and Simon, that he was going to sit down and ooze everything that was Stevie Ray Vaughan out of into. It's no surprise it was a Buddy Guy.
Do yourself a favor, guys, without concluding. Go and watch the Austin City Limits performance of this. It's something else. He starts singing, he's playing, his eyes roll back in his head. His eyes are open, but they're only seeing the whites of his eyes. I'm serious. He was.
That's quite scary.
Something. Yes, he was channeling something in that performance, and that the first time I ever watched that, I was fixated to the TV, and I did get teary-eyed watching it. He portrayed that much emotion. So yeah, Austin City Limits.
Thank you, bro. One of my favorite songs. One of my favorite songs forever. And again, you know, really great to see that it's having an effect on a lot of folks in the chat too, because that's what music should do. That's the power of music. It's supposed to do that. And it's great when we can all share it together as a community. It's even better, isn't it?
Yes, 100%.
Travis Walk. Now, hold on, folks. Travis Walk is a Vaughan song. It's a cool instrumental. Chris Layton is all over this. Chris Layton, Whippet, is just all over this track. It's phenomenal from that point of view. And the guitar on this, Brad and Simon, is a complete contrast to the track that was previous. You know, it's just phenomenal that this guy can do that. Interesting piece. I'll be honest with you. When I first heard it for a long time, we knew what it was. It was an album filler. And I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I'll never skip it. Like I did. I'm going to tell you guys the truth. There were probably moments there, Brad, on the CD where I may have skipped this. But I'll never skip it again because I can see it in the context of what it is. And Brad and Simon and folks in the chat, we understand now the significance, don't we, especially of doing this show, the importance of fillers on an album and the role that it plays. So I try not to skip fillers. There's only about 3 or 4 fillers ever that I'll skip, but this is never one of them, Brad. And it's a Stevie composition. So I'll pass it over to you, bro.
Yeah. Well, for me, Travis Walk, I mean, it's a track that serves as a bit of a showcase for the band. Stevie's incredible guitar skills. You know, you've got Chris Layton. He's a phenomenal drummer. I mean, he's what would you call it? He doesn't just play a straight beat, but he holds it down and just plays what's absolutely necessary for the song. Tommy Shannon on the bass is just so locked into him there, and this would have been something, in my opinion, that Stevie probably used to muck around with at sound checks or whatever, and they made a song out of it. That's what I'm hearing when I listen to this song. It's a jam, and Stevie's guitar playing, his intricate melodies, and demonstrates his technical mastery in it. Incredible guitar playing. The band are really tight, and from my understanding, the title Travis Walk comes from a reference to do with Travis County, Texas, where Austin is located, which is a city that's rich in musical history. So, I think that hearing that music wherever that in Austin, Texas, where they grew up and where Stevie was based, hearing that all the time would have been something that was just cemented in his brain. So that's why I see this song as a very important part of the record. It's great piano solo as well. I gave it 8.5 out of 10, and definitely never a skip, guys. Definitely never a skip. Simon.
Fantastic.
Well, the thing I picked up is that clearly this is a an instrumental, but in the long line of instrumentals that he does, he seems to do an instrumental. Scuttlebutting is the one that came to my mind immediately, but there are others as well. I noticed that clearly he has a thing about doing instrumentals.
Sure.
At some point you do an instrumental. I think that it's it's a contrast to that slow kind of blues thing we were talking about in the last track. And because I think about these things in these terms, it's the last track on side one as well, if you're doing vinyl things like what I think of it. But before I had to go away and look at it, because clearly on Spotify it's just 10 tracks, and I couldn't work out, and I thought, and I had in my head, I was thinking, Travis Walk's the first track on side two. That would be a bit odd, but it's not the first track on side two. It's the last track on side one. And I think, as you say, it's a bit of a filler, but actually it's he's done it before. He does instrumentals, so it's in that genre of SRV instrumentals, and it's got tricksy drum beats and great solo and a nice piano solo as well. And it's just a nice light, because you've got to have light with the shade, haven't you? You can have deep tracks, you can have deep thinking tracks, but you've got to have some. It's a bit like the first track, a bit like Houses Are Rocking. It's basically a good time rock and roll song, and then you end the side with a kind of bookend to that as well with this track. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, but never a skip. So 2.5, 2 minutes 20, so it's absolutely fine. Yeah, really enjoyable.
And we're all within QE of each other. Jim's made a comment here. First track under 7 on this side for him. So fantastic, Jim. Jim knows what he's talking about, folks. He's been on the show. He knows. We don't contradict Jim. As the rock professor mentioned,
they don't make it a bad track. They don't make it a bad track.
No.
You're just saying that some tracks have gravitas and they are the big tracks on an album, and some tracks hopefully aren't, because that's the way you have to have an ebb and flow of an album. You can't put it, can't all be just wild and crazy.
Awesome. So, because it's flip side, folks, it's time for us to throw a couple of picks up for you guys to have a look. And the tracks this week are brought to you by this person.
Where is it? Look at that. It's uncanny. There we are. Coffee
It's uncanny. The resemblance is remarkable.
They could be twins. Yes.
I'll fire through some picks and we'll have a bit of a chat. So obviously, folks, this is the cover. Brad and Simon. Brad first. Tell me, what did you think of the cover when you saw the cover? How do you rank this as a album cover? And then Rock Professor.
I love it. It's it kind of sets a tone for, it's got a real powerful. It's a very powerful image. It looks like he's kneeling down. He's playing the resonator, and he's just really fixated on what he's doing. And that was Stevie. I think he was all about guitar, and he was at one when he picked up an instrument. And look at his right hand; he hasn't got a guitar pick. He's just strumming with his thumb by the looks of it. And he's a natural. It was the guitar was part of him. So it's a beautiful image.
I think that it's quite symbolic, isn't it? First of all, the title "In Step" clearly refers to the the 12 steps of sobriety, and I think that pose, on one knee in a position of submission. I'm submitting to, and the 12 steps is very much about higher powers and things, isn't it? So I think there's a great symbolism in this. He's on one knee, he's looking down in a kind of submissive pose, and with that kind of in mind. So that's what I feel as though it conveys in a way, that kind of, that picture of his newfound sobriety and, what that meant to him.
Awesome.
The spiritual side. So,
cool.
Very
fantastic. Cool. So here's some picks here. So I tried to get some picks around 89, 90. This is a pick from Stevie on one of his last gigs in 89. And you'll notice that he's carrying a bit of weight. He's a bit fuller around the cheeks, and that will be obviously a result of him being off the narcotics and off the booze, Brad and Simon. So, starting to look a little bit healthier.
Yeah, I think he looked much better when it was around this time frame. He looked a lot healthier, 100%. Yeah. It just demonstrates in a picture everything that Stevie was about, in my opinion. That almost, it was part of what he was playing.
100% right.
For sure, yeah.
So this is one that's a little bit earlier. This is about 85. So, just putting it into context. And that's another group photo. Well, that's Tommy.
Tommy Shannon on the bass.
And Stevie there. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Reese and Tommy.
Yeah.
And you can see Stevie hiding over there in the corner, hunched over his guitar, Brad.
Yeah.
That's a famous set of pics where he's playing. Oh, gosh, I know the song. Oh, it'll come to me. I can't remember. Lenny, that's it. You got it. Fantastic. So he's sitting there on the drum riser, isn't he?
I was waiting for you, and I couldn't wait no longer, Andrew. Sorry.
Yeah. Good on you. You brought some credibility back. One of the greatest live performances ever, where he's just sitting there. And that cigarette just doesn't get in the way, does it?
Obviously, this is before.
How come the smoke doesn't get in his eyes?
Yeah. Another early pick there. He's a little bit thinner. Same gig from before.
Yeah.
Gotta love the carpet, haven't you? Hey,
Bands
and carpets.
Just a powerful pick there.
Yeah. It's interesting that... oh, yeah.
Sorry, bro.
No, you're right. You're right.
No, what were you going to say?
It's interesting on that picture. You can see that the decals are different, and on his number one, and the SR, and I heard this from John Mayer that what was his guitar tech's name? It's forgotten. Jeez, that's terrible. It's actually SRU. It's not V because they didn't have a V, so they put the U on it. Yes.
Correct. Only a true fan would know that, and it's not. It's not as amp tech. Oh gosh. Hugh, someone in the chat will know who it is.
Yeah, someone who can bring some credibility back.
Rene Martinez.
Yes,
that's it.
Yep. Sorry. Yes.
Someone in the chat. You mean your co-host is bringing back some credibility?
Always loved that pick.
It was Suzy Diaz, yes. Yes, that's a great picture. Yeah.
That's from the same set. Still shoot.
Yeah.
Another famous pic there of the Phoenix tattooed on his chest.
Doesn't it look like the remains of the guitar on the horn and the Phoenix are very similar, aren't they?
Mm.
Shape.
Correct.
Yeah. Great picture.
Another fantastic pick.
Yeah. That's a great shot.
There's Mick Jagger there. Mick Jagger's an important person in their career, Brad, isn't he?
Yes, 100%. 100%. 100%. That's a great picture. That's Chris Layton. That's the second picture of Chris Layton you've showed. He's a phenomenal drummer. Phenomenal. Chris Layton, Tommy Shannon, and obviously Stevie in the red. Is it velvet suit or shiny suit? I can't see.
That's not velvet, bro. I think that's shiny.
Shiny.
Yeah. I think that's shiny. And what's really interesting, if you know anything about Stevie Ray Vaughan, folks, he dressed like that. He wasn't like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones where they would dress for a gig. He actually dressed like that, in real life. He was pretty flamboyant, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Took the uniform of rock and roll seriously, never out of character.
That's a great picture. Yes.
And so that's apparently from that's a still from the Metro.
Mm. And that's the actual number one, Andrew, is it?
Apparently. And that's the U there, where you can see it's a U, not a V, that Brad mentioned.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear there.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
only a hardcore fan would know that,
Yes.
because if you have a look on this one here, you'll see the V.
Yeah, the decals are different. Yep. Which was a pretty standard thing for him to have that decal on. I think he had another white guitar, which is one pickup in it. I think there was one pickup called Butterscotch, I think it was. He had the SRV on that. Like that decal. It's very and there's that one, with the SRV with that Stratocaster that Stevie's holding there. That's a custom made scratch guard that with the SRV decal on it. So he replaced that Strat. So that's not a Strat with the original pick guard. If people are interested, that's that was custom made for him, from my understanding.
Correct. And that's an 89 photo shoot with another legend. He passed away.
Mr.
That
Beck.
we've done a couple of shows on.
Yep.
Jeff Beck.
Two of the greatest there. That's for sure.
For sure.
And you can see Stevie looking pretty healthy. We've made that point. Looking good.
Yep.
And the last pick, folks, is a new documentary that came out in the beginning of the year. I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for it to be available on streaming, but apparently it's a phenomenal Brothers and Blues, the Jimmy and Stevie Ray Vaughan story. Apparently, from all the reviews, it's phenomenal. Can't wait to see that.
Same here. Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you for letting me show those picks,
Excellent.
guys.
No worries. Great picture.
Excellent picks. Yeah,
Thank you.
really good.
So we'll kick on with the ranking. All right. Side 2, song 1. Holy cow. We won't swear on the show. So I'm going to say, holy cow, what a track.
Yes.
Brad and Simon would know what I'd be saying, and
Turning the air blue. Oh, Mr. Potty Mouth.
Wall of Denial. Holy cow. Holy cow. I'll get to the comments soon, folks, when Brad and the Rock Professor are giving their analysis of the song. But Brad and Simon, clearly another deep, personal, meaningful song for Stevie Ray Vaughan. Hugely, hugely important. Part of that process that the Rock Professor mentioned, in STEP, the 12-step program, if you're familiar with it, it's about recognizing in some way some of the mistakes that you've made and the apologies that you have to do. And I think this is one of those songs too, Simon and Brad, where there's an apology there from him. Powerful song. Brad, I love the chords that he plays on this. He's playing chords as opposed to, licks. I love the awesome vibrato that Stevie has on this track, on his voice. The vibrato is just on his voice. It's just, holy cow. It's, he's doing something else with his vocals. It's just phenomenal. And then at that 2-minute mark, you just get that incredible solo, Brad. And he's got to be using a tube screamer. He's got to be using a tube screamer on this, pushing that front end of the amp. It's just phenomenal. Again, the Rock Professor and Brad often talk about contrasts, when we listen to albums, and, we get in a contrast again on one song by this guy. It's phenomenal. 10 out of 10. Brad.
Oh, he's like a stuck record, isn't he?
I think Wall Denial is an incredible song, and the way that the intro, the way he plays that, it's such a unique style that he has, and it's all right hand technique, that intro. If you're familiar with what I'm saying, it's the way he's playing, and he's playing it not so he wouldn't be playing over the pickups. He's slightly in front of the pickups, almost on the neck, playing that intro. I think that's how I'm hearing it, because it's dynamically, it's not tight. It's very soft, and he's dragging the pick. He's sort of raking the pick a little bit. It's fantastic. It's a very hard intro to play. If you've ever tried to play this, it's not straightforward. And I know there's probably guys out there that can play Stevie Ray Vaughan, stuff way better than me. And but I've always struggled with this styling, the way that he does this, and it's beautiful. It definitely sounds like it's on his neck pickup of his beloved number one.
Yeah,
definitely. And this is Stevie Ray Vaughan on top of his game here. He's singing so strong and confidently. Lyrically, as Andrew suggested and spoke about, it's delving into personal struggles and emotional barriers, and, the things that you do to protect yourself, and his vocals are very heartfelt. His guitar solos reflect the pain and determination expressed in the lyrics as well. I think the solo, as Andrew said, is something else. It's phenomenal, and he's really going for it. And there's an outro solo as well, the second solo in the song, and it's my favorite solo in the song. The second one, it's just outstanding. I think it's a fantastic song. I give it a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip, gentlemen. Simon.
Hugh Caldwell's just being hilarious in the chat as he got fired by John Martin. But I'm not surprised Hugh got fired. He's a bit of you're telling me that Jerry Rafferty never popped out with a cup of tea for you regular intervals? I'm surprised. Strange man, Jerry Rafferty. So that's fantastic. So so Wall of Denial is first track on side 2. Great guitar riff to start with, and that kind of swingy mid-tempo, straight 4/4 beat. Great walking bass, and the organ for colour. Really nice. Again, having that organ there really gives it an extra dimension, I think, in lots of these tracks. I think it's really cool. The lyrics are clearly personal lyrics, about personal demons, and Andrew, just following on from your point about that apology thing, when he sings wall must come tumbling down, that must be about that, mustn't it, as a thing.
Yep.
So, it's I think that gives extra things to it, when it's, the song is about something personal to you, and there's great singing on it, and 2 fantastic solos as well on it as well. So I'm in an effort to break it up, I'm giving it 5 out of 10. No, I'm not. No, 10 out of 10.
You got me.
I had the trigger ready, Brad. Don't worry. Yeah. The trigger was ready.
See, had you worried though? No, 10 out of 10 for sure. It's a great opening track to side 2, and a great song, and as I say, with that extra dimension of the personal stuff to him in it, that makes it special.
If you had given that a 5 out of 5, I would have said to Andrew, I'm starting to doubt the credibility of the Rock Professor at the moment.
Yeah. Good bit of
trying to
fun.
break it up, Brad. Just trying to break it up. Stir up a bit of controversy. Get some conversation flowing.
Why not?
Oh dear.
No, good scores, guys, for a powerful song. Fantastic, and obviously it's resonating again with everybody in the chat. So Scratch-n-sniff, another Doyle and Bram, Doyle and Stevie song. I've left this comment here by Holly because the B3 on this track is fantastic. Reese's contribution to this track is just holy cow. In fact, it's it's a standout for Reese. One of the standouts for Reese. And obviously Brad too. I gotta mention it. The wah, the wah solo. It's taken us this long to get how many tracks to get the wah solo, but we get it.
Eight, sir. 8.
We're 8 tracks in, and we get it. It's a cool rocker, isn't it, guys? And it's in the vein of The House is Rocking. The opening track. It's a cool rocker. Look, I love it. I've given this an 8 out of 10. It's never a skip, Brad.
Yeah. It's Scratch-n-sniff. It's good, that up-tempo blues feel. It's got a bit of a funkiness to it as well. It showcases the band a lot, this song, how tight they are and the chemistry, the interplay between Stevie's guitar, Tommy's bass, Chris Layton's drums. There's a lot of stuff going on there that's so tight, the way they play together. And obviously Reese on keyboards, which you've spoken about. Stinging guitar solo and the use of the wah, something we've been waiting on the whole album for. And I don't think he uses a wah pedal for the rest of the album either. So it's uncharacteristically, Stevie Ray Vaughan in a sense, because he loved wah pedal. But so I've given this song an 8 out of 10. I've put here Stevie's voice is gruff and powerful. It's a great song. 8 out of 10.
Yes,
good score, bro.
Simon.
It's interesting that this album is not awash with chorus and reverb and things as it delay. I think it's one of the things to remark on, isn't it? That the kind of restraint in the pedals front.
Yeah.
There's not a huge amount of pedals going on, is there? Not as far as I can tell. As you said, a bit of tube screamer, and it's quite subtle, the wah, isn't it? It's not, there's not, all the way in and all the way out kind of thing. Why? It's kind of, it feels to me more subtle than that, as just to give it just again more of a texture than a just look at me featuring the wah wah, which is what I'd be doing. It's I like that. I think that's cool as a thing. You don't have to do too much to lesson for us all guitar players, isn't it? It's less is more. Quite the song. Yes, I've written down this is kind of pretty much a straightforward rock and roll song. Kind of it's got some Chuck Berry riffs in it and things, and with that sort of rock and roll piano as well. With the solo, I gave this 7.5 out of 10. But it's never a skip. It's a great, again, it's a levity song, isn't it? It's a bit of light, as a la Houses Are Rocking or something like that. That you need to have if you're going to have these kind of deep blues and personal cuts as well. I think you've got to have the levity too. It's the other side of him, isn't it? So yeah, 7.5 out of 10 for me, Mr. Walton.
Fantastic. Thank you, Simon, because Hugh's given an 8. Holly's saying it's not a fave. It's an okay song, and that's an interesting point here by Ryan. If you guys are interested, Brad and I did a show with Dropkick Blues.
Yep.
And we did the Al Macumbo show, and we did a segment on what I might go through and edit that and do that as a separate video where we went through and looked at his gear in depth, and that's where he's got the 2 R's. But I'm not sure if he used 2 R's on this either.
It wasn't this track. I think it was It's on Soul to Soul, I think it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. But
No,
I don't think it was 2 hours on this. But we always keen to be corrected, folks.
No, I don't think it
the,
is.
isn't the 2 Wars a cafe in New York?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the Cafe Wa. Oh, fuck. Here we go. Oh, okay. All right.
That's where he
Oh,
is.
my.
Yes. Yeah,
All
I
right.
can't resist it. Stop that now.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Never mind your tutting, boss man.
Love Me, Darling, a Howling Wolf song, folks. So, the second Chicago blues giant to contribute a song to this album, Brad and Simon, Howling Wolf. And obviously, Stevie Ray Vaughan and Tommy Shannon especially would have been well versed in all this music. I don't know about Chris, because Chris came from a bit of a different tradition, didn't he? He came from more of a pop tradition. So if he was being educated in Chicago blues, it would have been by two of the greatest blues musicians, Brad and Simon. In the van, listen to this. Okay,
They wouldn't have had a choice. They would have had to listen to it.
Yeah.
On 8-track.
So, yeah, that's right. Because he came from a different tradition, folks. And that's an interesting story. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on another show when we do some more Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. But Love Me, Darling. Oh my gosh, the band is tight on this, isn't it? And what I have to say about this track is Tommy's bass. The way that he does those passing notes on this track, Brad and Simon, it's just phenomenal. And the way that he pops those notes out on his bass to push that crunch guitar along, it's just phenomenal. I can just see in my mind that these two guys, the bass player and the guitar player, just looking at each other, just playing this live. It could only be played live, the way that the song sounds to me. Brad and Simon, it's a deep cut. I say it's a deep cut because for me it's an incredible song. Tommy is just a master bass player, and I think if we can sort of give credit to the other guys in the band because of the shows that we do, that's us doing the best that we can for the other members. And if we can give some recognition to Tommy and his contribution, we've done our job, because I think he's doing it on this track. What am I saying here, Brad? What am I saying here, Brad? It's a Brad score.
Fabulous.
Look, it's a deep cut, and I'm going to tell you guys seriously. It only happened to me this week listening to it. I think I would have given, in my mind's eye, had I scored this through my memory, I would have given this an 8, Brad. But listening to it over the course of the week, it just grew on me to the point where I'm saying it's a deep cut, and it's a Brad score. Brad.
Love Me, Darling.
Yay.
That intro is fantastic. The guitar playing on it is fantastic. This is blues. This is Stevie Ray Vaughan. His guitar's crying. The lyrics in this song, he's portraying that with his vocal and his guitar playing. I know it's a Howlin' Wolf song, and it's amazing how Stevie Ray Vaughan will play someone else's song and make it his own. And
yep,
that's an art form within itself, because you can do it. a lot of artists do that and do horrible jobs of someone else's song. But to actually do a phenomenal job of someone else's song and take it on like it is your own is an art form. And Stevie was a genius at that, in my opinion. His guitar playing, he captures the sentiments beautifully on the guitar. The solo leads off similar to the intro lead guitar part and then stretches out. Stevie Ray Vaughan's voice is is pleading, and it sounds sensational. The outro solo for me is so exciting. It has so much energy. I gave it 9 out of 10 and never a skip, guys. Simon.
Yeah, it's a sort of swinging blues, isn't it? With a call and response in the verses. They've been playing, as you've said, very cool bass to the fore on this. Sounds great. Really taking it along, and the horns that punctuate at the end as well, just to give it that extra bit of texture with the solo at the end, the second solo, which is great. I think it's again, those horns, the organ, the piano, things, they just give these things a texture, and they give them a bit of extra depth and dimension that I think are really important, because it would be quite easy, wouldn't it? You could, if you've got a 3-piece, it'd be quite easy to go through a whole album with a 3-piece, and it would have a linearity of sound, wouldn't it? Blues, great blues player, does solo with bass and drums kind of thing. Whereas these other instruments, and I could see why, Reese Winer's coming in is a real boon to the band, because it does give it, dimension with the piano and the organ playing. And I think the horns do that on this as well, really well. It's a great version of it. I gave it 9 out of 10, never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, so Texarkana horns are the name of the two cats that played saxophone and trumpet. Joe Sublette and
Daryl Leonard.
According to Mr. Wikipedia, Daryl Leonard. So they're the guys that added that extra dimension and depth to the song, Holly, that you can hear.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're on to the last track now, which is I'm going to again leave some room here for my co-hosts, and then probably come back, and then we'll probably go around again, and then come back, and then go around again. So go and grab a cup of tea, and something to eat. Let me just check this out. Give me a second, folks. So Riviera Paradise. It's a Stevie song. 8.5 minutes long, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Those chords that he plays on this track.
Yes.
The playing on this track, Simon. The space that Stevie has between the notes on this track, it's just phenomenal, isn't it? It's 8.5 minutes of pure magic.
Yes.
And if you've done any research, folks, and read any reviews or articles in the context of preparing yourself for the show, you would have come across, people talking about this album having a jazz element to it. And you can't hear the jazz element because none of us have brought it up on any of the previous songs. But this is where you're going to hear that hint of the jazz element that some of the reviewers have spoken about. And the jazz element obviously is led by Tommy Shannon on the bass. The bass player in a jazz ensemble, it's an absolutely important instrument, because it sets the timing, doesn't it, Brad? It sets the timing, and this is a track that's that has tempo changes, and the layers. I'll stop now and pass it on to Brad. Yeah, Brad. You come in with some descriptive analysis, please, and then the rock professor, because
did you give it a ranking?
do I? Oh, yeah.
No, he hasn't ranked it yet, but that's all right.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to.
I've got some other points that I'll talk about after you guys have spoken about, if that's okay. Brad, this is the way that you finish an album. This is the way that you finish an album. You condense everything that you have been in this track, and you put signposts of where you might be going on your next album or your next journey on the musical road, Simon. This is the track that gives all those signposts for me. This is a triple, double, triple Brad score. I don't want to swear, but I'd love to swear.
No swearing.
Yeah.
Look, that's hard to follow, Andrew, but I'll try my best.
You will. You'll always do better, brother.
No, well, Riviera Paradise, I mean, I've got a theory when it comes to Stevie playing instrumentals, and Rock Professor, you brought this up when we were talking about one of the earlier songs. I think Stevie used to start most of his sets with one or two instrumentals to warm up. I think it was like I think it was so he didn't have to come out singing immediately and warm the crowd up, get the crowd into the playing, because obviously he's most confident playing guitar. You can tell that he's one with the guitar. But then he would normally finish with an instrumental before the encore. And previously, before this song, he used to finish with something like Lenny, or Lenny would be towards the end of the set anyway, like almost like a cool down, I guess.
Yep.
I'd like to put it. Like, he comes out blistering from the start, knocks your socks off, takes you on a journey, and then brings it down like a cool down, like a chill session. Now, this song has moments of Lenny, the song Lenny from his first album off Texas Flood. But this, in my opinion, is a phenomenal album closer, and it's a serene instrumental where Stevie's guitar work takes center stage. There's lush and emotive guitar melodies. They create a mood, offering a departure from the album's earlier energy tracks, which touches on what you said, Andrew, what could have been, like, where was he going? Maybe this is a taste of what his next album would have been like. And I made this note here, and I'm not lying. That's what I've got here. So we're on the same pathway there, Andrew. I'll put here, we hear some sassy jazz chord voicings, especially in that intro. We hear some Wes Montgomery vibes. I'm hearing that. There's a lot of that there. The main verse, the melody, I originally wrote this, the main verse melody has a Hendrix vibe, but then I changed it and I put, it has a Stevie Ray Vaughan vibe, because he made that style his own. That Lenny sort of guitar playing was very much influenced by Wing Cries Mary and Little Wing, but now this style became, especially on this song, his styling became a little away from that Hendrix style, and he started playing his own style of delicate playing and delicate touch and inversions, and incorporating that Hendrix style, but it was his own. The solos in this song, I don't know where to start. The solos have some very delicate touch and tones happening. There's some absolutely beautiful guitar playing. It's easy to get lost in this. Nearly 9 minutes of instrumental. Around the 3-minute mark is some of my favorite parts in the song. We also hear a beautiful piano solo from Reese. I love Stevie's playing when the piano solo ends and Stevie comes back in. He's playing octaves. Do, 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 do. Very jazz, very, very, very jazz there. The string dives where he flicks the strings and does the dive on it. Like something's crying in the background or whatever. Around the 7-minute mark, we hear some absolutely insane fluttering of notes, but delicate, very delicate playing. He's dragging the pick with his right hand. You have to listen to it because I can't explain it properly around the 7-minute mark. You have to go and listen to it after the show. It's a treat for the ears, this song. It's a journey. And the version that's on the Austin City Limits is a fantastic version as well. Andrew and Simon, it's something that you have to watch. Do yourself a favor, put this song on, listen to it in a dark room. That's all I have to say. You'll become you'll get closer to Stevie Ray Vaughan listening to this song just without any distraction.
And you don't need drugs, folks. You don't need drugs to enhance.
I'm 100% in agreement with that.
Yep.
Don't need drugs. Just listen to it in the dark, and you'll totally be closer to Stevie Ray Vaughan than you ever have. I have to give this 100 out of 10. It's a phenomenal way to end the album and Stevie Ray Vaughan's recording career. And Double Trouble's recording career. Unfortunately, we didn't get to hear anything else from this lineup after this. Good
points, bro. And I'm glad that you mentioned. There's a couple of points that you mentioned that I'm going to elaborate on. That I wanted you or maybe the Rock Professor, because I think you've hit the nail on the head on a couple of things that we'll come back to, if that's okay. So Simon, if you want to give us your analysis of the last track, that'll be cool. Is he frozen?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was having a bit of internet trouble, and then some other. Oh, have I frozen? No, I'm all right. Can you hear me? Okay.
No, we can. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
That's right. Had me worried for a minute. So Riviera Paradise, is apparently, I don't know if you covered this, so I apologise away for it, but apparently after a full day of recording material for the album, Stevie asked his producer to leave the tape running, turn down the lights, and then he just played his guitar for 8 minutes 49 seconds, and then the band came in later and overlaid their stuff, which is a bit of an unusual way of doing it, but I don't know if you covered that before, but I thought that was quite interesting. An interesting thing was so that the band came in later and so I mean, as you say, it's a really interesting window into where he might have gone next, kind of thing. But again, I think he could easily be staying with the blues stuff and had this stuff as another string to his bow, kind of thing. I think, but clearly it's a beautiful song, beautifully played. I think that it doesn't show that the band have been put on afterwards at all. It sounds like they're playing and they've got it laid down. I think. Funnily enough, I don't know about you guys. It reminded me. It's a bit obscure. I'm not really sure why. It reminded me of Weather Report a bit. Reminded me of Weather Report, that jazzy thing, and particularly Jaco Pastorius. Some of the bass stuff reminded me of Jaco Pastorius as a player, which is just fantastic. And I think Jim made a comment earlier about somebody. I think it was somebody he knew, so sort of a cocktail jazz kind of thing, and I think that it would be easy to mistake it for that, but I don't think it's that at all. So I think it's got lovely piano solo. I think that Reese Wine plays beautifully on that. Those kind of, quite subtle kind of like the guitar player response to the piano, because clearly there's no vocals, but. And then the keys play strings under the solo as well. So you've got quite a lot of textures, quite a lot of different things going on within the track. within it. It was clearly 8 minutes long. There's lots of things going on to keep the interest, and it's beautifully played, and that relaxed kind of ending reminded me of Riders on the Storm, that kind of tinkly piano kind of thing. Is Riders on the Storm vibe to me. I gave this 10 out of 10 as well. Clearly, it's one of the standout tracks on the album, and fantastic. And we know what he might do next.
Okay, so we managed to catch that, Simon. You were breaking up a little bit, but thank you for your analysis. So
Sorry,
it's okay. It's fine. It's wasn't completely bad. So the most important thing is that people could hear you, and that's the key. He's spinning. So Brad, for me, this is my theory of why I think Stevie was going down, quote unquote, this jazz kind of route. And you mentioned Wes Montgomery, and I'm going to take it a little bit of a step back and go to Charlie Christian, who was a Texas guy, and having a huge influence. I'm just going to bring the Rock Professor back in, so I'll remove him, bring the Rock Professor back in. Are you there, Simon?
Yeah.
Cool.
Remove me.
Okay. No problem. It's good to have you back. So I think what Stevie was doing is he was tapping back into as you said, Wes Montgomery and Charlie Christian, coming from Texas. And one of the results of coming out of a 12-step program is the search for authenticity within yourself that you're expected to do. You're expected to go and find out who you are as a man, person, woman, whatever, before addiction took over you and swamped this authenticity of you as a person. So I think what Stevie was trying to do, because he already knew the blues, Simon and Brad. He already understood that. He knew that because he was listening to that since he was 6-7 years old. I think what he was doing is he was going back and he was rediscovering the jazz component, where jazz fitted into this blues, into this Texas blues thing, in a search for authenticity for himself as a guitar player. That's where I think he was going with this track, and maybe with a couple of other songs on an album that we didn't get. That's my theory.
I think you're very on to it there, Andrew. 100%.
Yeah.
I
think... Yeah. Go on, Brad. Go on.
No, Simon, go for it.
Well, I was going to say that for me, this track is about that you transfer from the blues being a kind of, playing pentatonic scales, basically, so you're playing it in a particular genre, playing particular things, to the blues as an emotion, regardless of what you're playing, it's the blues as an emotion, not as a technique, if you like, or a set of notes that you play. You're not playing a pentatonic scales, you're not playing blues scales or whatever, but it still has, it's still rooted in the blues because of, that's where you are emotionally, kind of thing.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. I think Stevie was channeling a fresh outlook on life since, he obviously went through and into sobriety, and a positive step. I also think that he was at a different point in his life at that point. Maybe he, was listening to, which jazz and blues, there is difference there, but they are
different.
They're very close. They're in the same family. I've always thought of jazz and blues. They're different, but they're closer together than, say, jazz and country music, or jazz and do you know what I mean? I've always thought
their roots. They have their roots in the same musical genre.
And I think you're right, Andrew. He was influenced by the Texas thing, but also the jazz thing was coming through him, and there were sort of smidgets of it earlier in his career as well that was spilling through. There's a couple of songs. I'll think of them in a minute. I can't think of the name of them, but there's very blues driven songs, and there's a couple of little jazz things here and there. And I think something deep inside of him, he was looking at expanding the blues and making it a little bit more sassy and a little bit more fusiony and bluesy with that jazz element in there. Because blues fusion is jazz, really, when you think about it. So
and he had Tommy Shannon there, who, as the rock professor said, the Weather Report connection there with Jaco Pastorius and Tommy Shannon. It's just go and listen to the bass playing on this. It's phenomenal, Brad. It's a phenomenal, yeah.
Unreal.
So I think you're right, bro. I think he was I'm not saying that he was going to come out and do a jazz album. Well, shit, maybe he was. Who knows?
I think he was stuck because we know Stevie well enough now to know that, like, he turned down with being with David Bowie to do what it was pure to him, what was true to him. You know, we knew that, and I think what I'm getting at and what I'm trying to say is I think he would have it just would have been an extension of what he was doing. We wouldn't have seen a complete change away from the blues, but the jazz element might have come into it a little bit more. But who knows? We're talking hypothetically here.
And we're allowed to do that. Good points, bro. Good points.
Yeah.
Good points. And can I also mention too, besides him being sober, you know, for the first time in a long, long time, you know, you got to remember Stevie, guys. He was sneaking into gigs, Brad, when he was 16 years old. You know, so
exactly.
You know, he'd been drinking around that scene for a long, long time, but he was also in love with you know, Yana, who happens to come from New Zealand. So he was in love as well. So we can't underestimate how being in love is going to have an influence on a man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Are you allowed to say man? Are you allowed to say man? Yeah, of course
we do on this channel.
Man. Yeah, man.
Man and woman.
Yeah, let's not.
Don't do that.
The show's
Stop
about
now.
No. The show's about blues, so we're talking about blues categories, and men and women are part of the blues.
Stop digging. Stop digging, for God's sake. Right. Put the spade away.
Great bit of fun. Great bit of fun doing this album with you guys. Brad and Simon, the contribution that you guys give me when I present, when I go in first and then I hear what you guys have to say, it's phenomenal. It's it's great. Even when the rock professor gets things completely wrong, he's still valid.
He's still right.
I didn't say that. But no, I think you're on the money though, Simon. I think you know, you clearly this album was a great album for all of us and for everybody in the chat too. I think we've had a lot of fun, and we can realise and see, according to Mr. Wikipedia, the guy who was out of the Velvet Underground, what's his name?
John Cale. Lou Reed.
Lou Reed said that this was apparently, according to Mr. Wikipedia, his favourite album from 1989.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I saw a comment there from Holly about Austin City Limits. I think there's two parts to it. One's in '83, which is where he's wearing a blue top and wearing he's not looking the healthiest. He's when I say the healthiest, when you see him from the '89 footage in the second part of the show, he's sober. He's, like Andrew said, he's a bit fuller in the cheeks. He looks like he's a little bit more. He's got a bit of color. He looks, he's wearing a vest with a blue shirt with white. What is it? Is it cactuses on it, Andrew?
Yeah.
And there's two gigs there. There's 83 and then in 89. The footage of both eras is phenomenal. But I mean, we know Stevie you can see quite clearly from the footage from 89, he was another level up from where he was in 83.
100%. And I want to say this point too, and Brad and I mentioned this when we had Matt from Dropkick Blues on.
Yeah.
And again, this is no disrespect to Jimi Hendrix. This is no disrespect because I love Jimi Hendrix. But for me, when we were listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan in the 80s, Brad and Simon, he was our Jimi Hendrix, even though he was clearly inspired by Jimi Hendrix, and we were listening to Jimi Hendrix. This was the guy today, Simon. He was the man today, giving us the music. So yeah, that's the power that that Stevie has for me. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, look, I think we're all on the same page with Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's funny, I've never really heard anyone who doesn't like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Even heavy metal guitar players, and I know that hate the blues.
love Stevie Ray Vaughan.
There's a purity to Stevie Ray, and he was a blessing. He was sent for a message, I think, and unfortunately taken away. Even just approaching his prime, I don't even think he'd hit his prime, in my opinion. I think he was still approaching his prime.
Yeah. You're right, and interesting that you should talk about and mention heavy metal cats. So I used to work with two guys. This is 20 years ago, who were in a reggae band. And I always loved reggae, Bob Marley, UB40, I still do. It's just fantastic. Don't know a lot about it, but I know it, because I was hanging out with cats that used to play it.
Spear.
Yep.
Babylon by Bus, and the whole lot, and then when Bob Marley came out with his greatest hits Legend album or whatever, it was just everyone had it. But I remember talking to these guys that I work with, and they didn't like Van Halen. They didn't like AC/DC that I was listening to, but when they found out that I loved Stevie Ray Vaughan, we spoke for hours because these guys had been brought up on Stevie Ray Vaughan too.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's something, I hear something quite new in Stevie Ray Vaughan every time I listen to him. And I get re-inspired every time I listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan. And even this week, listening to this album, Andrew, so, thank you for picking it, because this week I've been re-inspired to get back on my Stevie Ray Vaughan, I guess, for lack of ways of putting it. I was practicing a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff just religiously every night. I'd sit there and play, and now I'm getting back onto that, which is great because of this. So,
Brilliant. Love hearing that. You've got the pick for next week too.
I've got an idea. I don't know if you want me to leave it till the green room or.
No, leave it to the green room. We've got to have a conference about it. We've got to have a conference.
You've got to have executive approval.
Yeah.
Got
to have these fine people come back in anticipation. What are they going to do next week?
I'm fine with that, guys. I'm fine with that. That's good.
Look, Simon, do you want to give us a quick conclusion, and then you want to say goodbye to everybody, and we'll be at the 2-hour mark.
Close, yeah.
Time to stop. Yeah, I'd just like to say, great album. Really enjoyed getting into it for the first time. I think that it's clearly a fully realized album. Lots of different textures, shades, and even the lighter songs are fully realized. and beautifully done, great playing and stuff, and that last track is something else as well. So thanks for that. It's been an excellent week of listening to that whilst cruising about.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Hugh. I agree with you, Hugh. There are moments too in my listening history of especially watching. We did a show on Eric Clapton, and Brad went to great lengths to remind you guys to watch the DVDs if you get an opportunity, watch the Blu-rays if you get an opportunity, because it adds extra depth to what we're talking about. I'm sure he'll say the same thing too. If you can go and watch, if you want to understand Stevie and you're listening to him, that's fantastic. God bless you. But if you want to understand more, Brad, go and watch him as well.
You have to. We insist you go and watch. Actually, all right. We demand you go and watch Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stop rubbing it in. Okay, stop rubbing it in. Let's knock off the Blu-ray conversation. I'm feeling guilty.
All right,
Blu-ray. Oh dear. So we should
want to do a shout out.
Thank you to Holly, some bloke called Brad Cook, the Returner, Gret Zeppelin, Digital Guitars UK, the Returner, Hugh Caldwell, fantastic. I see we had Johnny Heartbreaker, didn't we, earlier on? Jazz Thunder 50, Jim, Ellen, of course, and Holly and Ryan Hall. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. And fantastic, loads and loads of comments. Lightning Strikes as well. Looking forward to having you on the show, Lightning Strikes. That would be really cool. Holly, Ryan. So we've had a fantastic one. As I say, loads of comments. Hopefully I don't miss anybody out. Shoo. There were some people earlier that Phil Byers as well was around earlier, wasn't he? Phil, thanks for dropping in. Right, one of our channel members. So I think hopefully that's everybody. I probably missed one or two, but thanks to everyone for joining. Great comments, and we'll see you next week for another
Happy Father's Day, Dad. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to the fathers out there. Thank you to our channel members. Next week we'll have a screen set and we'll have the names for all our channel members. If you want to support our channel and become a channel member, we invite you to help us. We ask also that you go and see our friends on our channels page. All our friends are there. Go and subscribe to their channel. If you want to be there on that channel's page, flick me a message, flick Brad a message, the Rock Professor a message, and we'll get you up there eventually, sooner rather than later. And please share our links on social media. We want to have 10K by December. I think we can do it. The way that the channel's been growing lately, I think we can do it.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
100%.
Take care all. Have a good week. Bye.
Now it's time for Brad's Tech and Tone Tips.
Brad, thanks for coming back, bro. I'm glad you didn't ditch us. I'm glad you came back to the channel.
It's never going to be.
Yeah, you know those other guys that were hunting you down, man. I look, that soul searching that you did. Thank you, bro. You can't break this bond, man. We're a brotherhood, bro.
I know, they were
team
down, but I had to, I had to just let them go. I had to leave them be. I actually ghost them, Andrew. Just so you know, I ghost them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming back.
Ghosted them all. Oh dear,
anyway.
Oh dear.
Oh shit!
What? What?